Good morning, my YouTube viewers. It is Palestine here. I've gotten up early in the morning so I can make a video. So, welcome to my channel. I got up this morning and I did my ablutions and I checked my blood. I think maybe it was 8.3. It was definitely 8 point something. So my blood is better than it has been since I've given up my grapes, but I'm still on 3 diabetic drugs and I'm taking oranges. So I try to have 1 orange a day, maybe more, and I've given up the grapes, no more grapes. And basically, I got up early this morning to make this video. I just want to talk about my thoughts one day after the breakup. Okay, I want to just say how I feel. So you know that today is Wednesday and it's in July 26th, and then on Monday, which I think it was 6 July 26th, I made a video and I said how I felt, and everything that I said in the video was true, but my boyfriend is saying, or my ex-boyfriend is saying that it's a lie, and it's not a lie, it's true. And so my Sikh friend came over and I cut his hair because he's got issues with money. So I cut his hair, I clipped his nails, I put some, because he shakes and he can't cut his nails, and I put some ointment in his eyes because he's got conjunctivitis. So I did that. I made him a sandwich to take with him. And then he told me that night when he went home, he was crying, you know. And so after my Sikh friend left, because I told my now ex-boyfriend that my Sikh friend was coming over and what we were going to do. And I said, since you don't like him, you can sit in my bedroom when I'm cutting his hair. So my Sikh friend left and I went into the bedroom to see my boyfriend, and he was just sitting there on the bed looking at his phone, which he had been doing the whole time he was there. He told me, he said, well, we're going to have one last meal together and then I'm leaving you. And I said, well, why? And he said, because of the video you made. He said the video isn't true, which it is true. He said the video isn't true, which it is true. And so I said, well, this is not what I want. I was in a state of shock. I said, this is not what I want. So I went and phoned my sister on Facebook Messenger and told my sister that my boyfriend was leaving me. And why? Because I made a video he didn't like. And then, so I talked to her for a few minutes. And then I went in there and I said, look, I said, if I make this video private, would you stay? He said, yes, if I made the video private, he'd stay. And then, so that happened a week or two before when we were visiting his mother, and I already gave you a trip report of visiting his mother that I had posted on Facebook. I said, on this group, I said, please pray for me and Mike, my relationship. I said, he's treated somebody badly, and I don't think our relationship can survive it. So obviously my boyfriend read it and got mad, said that he wasn't going to go to the church anymore because he didn't have a lot of confidence, and he was going to go to another church. And the reason why is because the church we go to is mostly middle-class people. He doesn't feel comfortable around middle class people because he has learning difficulties himself, although he's never been diagnosed with a learning disability. And so he only feels comfortable around down and outs. So that's why when we go to handouts with all those drug addicts, alcoholics, prostitutes, ex-cons, gamblers, he feels comfortable there. He feels comfortable there because those are people that he doesn't feel that they're better than he is. And so he said that he was going to go to this other church because there's lots of down and outs there. So he feels comfortable there. So people there are not people that are superior to him. And so I said, well, if you don't go to this church, what am I going to tell people if you don't go to the church? And I said, look, if you don't go to the church, our relationship is just going to disintegrate, which it's disintegrated anyway. And I said, look, if I delete this post, would you go to the church? He said, yes, if I deleted the post, he would go to the church. So it was just, and then he starts bitching. This was 2 weeks ago or however long ago it was. He started bitching, he looks for any opportunity to start bitching, and people don't want to hear it. People don't want to hear you bitching and complaining all the time. So he kept saying things about my Sikh friend, and I said, look, you got what you wanted. He kept saying more things. I said, look, I gave you what you wanted. He got what he wanted. He had a tantrum. He said he didn't want my Sikh friend in our lives anymore. And I gave him what he wanted. I said, look, he's not doing things with us as a couple anymore. I said, I can't stop him from going to public places. It's up to him if he wants to go to a public place. And then, I just had to keep saying to him, you got what you wanted. I gave you what you wanted. And he goes, I know, but I want to talk about it. Well, what's there to talk about? I mean, I don't sit there and go on and on and on about all my crappy relationships. I don't sit there and go on and on and on about all my crappy friends. So that was a couple of weeks ago. And then so this week, Monday, again, he got what he wanted, I made the video private. He got what he wanted. And that's how he operates. He has a tantrum and he gets what he wants. And he's got a daughter that she has tantrums. Well, yeah, and they do that to get what they want. They have a tantrum so they can get their way. So people will appease them. So I was really upset. I agreed, he told me he was leaving me. And I said, and he agreed to stay if I made the video private, which I did. The video is private. And I was still really upset, but we went to bed. Got up Tuesday morning, I don't know, we were sitting there having breakfast, and I didn't want to say very much because I can't talk to him anymore. I'm afraid, especially about my Sikh friend. I can't talk to him about my Sikh friend because he will totally overreact, which is what happened. Is my Sikh friend has a learning disability. He was brought up in an Indian culture. I'm about 17 years older than my Sikh friend, and I'm like maybe 16 years older than his wife. And he asked me one time, a long time ago, he said, when my wife dies, will you marry me? Well, I'm not going to outlive his wife. I'm like 16 years older than his wife. I've got bad eyes, diabetes, cancer. I'm not going to outlive his wife. And I just said, well, I'll have to think about it, you know. I'd have to think about it. But I can't say things. I felt like I can't say things to my boyfriend anymore, especially about my Sikh friend, because he would totally overreact, which is what he did. He totally overreacted. And so he starts saying he's not going to go to the Depression Expression coffee morning because people go there to talk about their problems, which they don't. You can go there for any reason. You don't have to go there to talk about your problems, but that's what he wants to do. He wants to talk about his problems. But you can go there for any reason. You don't have to talk about your problems, but he wants to talk about his problems. So he said he's not going to go because he can't talk about his problems. Then he says he's silenced. He was silenced because he was talking to this Indian man about my Sikh boyfriend. Well, this Indian man doesn't have any contact with the Indian community, so he has a really low regard for the Indian community. So his parents were Indian, and he was born in the UK. So he said himself he's not had any contact with the Indian community for 30 years. So he hasn't had a good experience with the Indian community. So he was over there saying all kinds of things about my Sikh friend, which weren't true. My Sikh friend has a learning disability. And then my boyfriend says he's silenced. That's why he's not going to the coffee morning, because he's silenced. And then he just started in again, you know, and I kept saying to him, you got what you want, you got what you want. He goes, yeah, but I want to talk about it. Because that's what he wants to do. He wants to talk about his problems. Well, what about me? He made me give up my friendship. But he wants to talk about it to me. I don't want to hear it. He forced me to give up my friendship. And so finally I just said I had enough. I just had enough of all this bitching and complaining. And he's not going to be happy until this friend is gone, completely gone. And then he would keep bringing it up to me. And he has accused me in the past of having an affair with my Sikh friend, which I didn't. I didn't have an affair with my Sikh friend. Was in bed with my boyfriend every night and every morning. I fixed him breakfast every morning. I fixed him dinner every night. When was I gonna have an affair? I didn't see my Sikh friend that much. I mean, when I saw him, it was just like maybe half an hour here, half of an hour there, or something like that. I wasn't having an affair. I liked my Sikh friend. I liked him, but I wasn't having an affair. And I liked my boyfriend more. I liked my Sikh friend, but I liked my boyfriend more. And I wasn't having an affair. And he has accused me of having an affair with him in the past. When was I going to have an affair? I was sleeping in bed with my boyfriend every night, every evening, every morning. I was fixing him breakfast and lunch and dinner, and we were going places every day. So when was I having this affair? And so finally, I just had enough. I'd been thinking about it anyway. I was thinking about it before he told me he was leaving me. But I just said, look, I said, you're not happy and I'm not happy. So I think it's best if we're just friends. Because what can you say? He's never gonna calm down. He was gonna talk about our Sikh friend the rest of his life. He was gonna accuse me of having an affair the rest of my life. He already forced me to give up my friendship, which I did. I did it for our relationship. And he was never gonna stop talking about it. You know, like his brother abused him and he can't get over that, you know. He can't move on from what his brother did. So he was never going to move on from our Sikh friend. And now he's firmly convinced that I'm having an affair, which I'm not. I'm in here by myself. And then so I had all morning long to then he agreed that he was going to get his things out of my apartment. And he went to work and I went to work. And then I don't know what happened, but I had all morning long to think about this. I had all morning long to think about it because I can't tell the people at work my problems because they don't want to hear it. Number one, they don't want to hear it. And number two, they would just use it against me. So I can talk to them a little bit. But I can't tell them my problems. So I just had all morning long to mull this over. And I thought, well, for the past 11 years, we've always been doing what my boyfriend wanted to do. That I always had to let him make the decisions. I always had to let him decide. Because if I made a decision, if I decided, then he could have a tantrum. And I didn't want that. I didn't want him to have a tantrum. So I let him make all the decisions just to keep the peace. I didn't want him to have a tantrum. And then, I've got some, he said that the video wasn't true. I didn't say a lot of things in that video, like his friends and family are awful to me. And basically, one time, because he's got this daughter that's about 30, and she's just a tearaway. She takes drugs, she smokes, she drinks, and she has had her children taken away from her before because of her behavior. She self-harms. She's just nasty. And one time I was trying to talk to him about her, saying you need to speak to her about her drinking. And he didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to like it. And he said, F you! And then ran off. And I had to call him and ask him to come back. And then another time when his mother was saying things about me to him, which I heard. And I was upset. I couldn't believe it. That she was saying those things about me. Like, you better be careful. You're going to end up like your girlfriend. And if that wasn't bad enough, she went on a tirade of several minutes saying things about me. It was just, I was sitting here right at this table trying to study. I couldn't not hear it because it was so loud. And then I got upset. He took my computer and he threw it against the wall. And then he ran off again. And so I had to keep calling him and asking him to come back. So he finally agreed to come back after I called him and asked him to come back. After he threw my computer against the wall and ran off. And then I think there was another time before I got sectioned because my flat had been vandalized and the police didn't do anything about it. And a few times we got in disagreements over that. And he left. And I had to call him and ask him to come back. Well, this time I wasn't going to call him and ask him to come back. I wasn't going to. Every time we got in a fight, it was me, always me, the one who conceded. Always me, the one who made compromises. Always me who asked him to come back. I had all day long to think about that. I had all day long to think about how I always had to give in to him because I was afraid he was going to have a tantrum. I always had to ask him to come back when he had a tantrum and left. And I just thought about it. And I thought, well, maybe you're doing the right thing. And then so he starts texting me saying, how's work? And I thought, well, it's okay, So I came home and my autistic friend came to visit. And then basically I had to tell my autistic friend that my boyfriend and I were splitting up, and he wanted to talk about himself more than my problems. But anyway, so I did tell him we were splitting up, and I had to tell him we were splitting up. And the reason why is because I was getting him things and handouts. And I told him, I said, I will be on the lookout for Dove products because he wants Dove products. I said, I'll be on the lookout for Dove products for you. I said, but I can't carry anything anymore. I said, I'd asked my boyfriend if he wanted to continue getting things for him from the handouts, but it's up to my now ex-boyfriend whether he wants to get him things at the handouts because I can't carry it. So I can't get it for him because I can't carry it. I can't carry a lot. I'm going to have to do all my own shopping now, and I can't carry a lot. And so then my ex-boyfriend, sent me a text message saying, I'm coming. So he came, and it was just like, he's just like, I think he thought I was going to change my mind. I think he thought that, because all the other times I had asked him to come back. And so I said to him, I said, look, you don't have to go with me. I can go by myself. He says, no, I want to go with you. I said, okay, because we had to go pick up my prescription because I have to pick up my prescription every week. And then he said, I said, look, I can go by myself. I don't need you to go with me. He says, no, I want to take you there. And so we were at the bus stop, and I told him, I said, I haven't changed my mind. So I think he thought that I would change my mind. He thought that he could just come back and everything would go back to the way it was. But I don't want to. I don't want to hear him bitching about my Sikh friend anymore. I don't want him bitching and accusing me to have an affair anymore. And he also told me that he's going to tell everybody that my Sikh friend broke up our relationship. And so anyway, we went and had dinner, and then we went to Sainsbury's, and then I just got a few things at Sainsbury's that I can fix for myself because I'm not fixing a meal. I'll just get a jacket potato and put it in the air fryer and put some cheese or something on top of that and have that for my dinner because I'm not cooking a meal, not for one, And then he got his things and then he left. He got his things and he wasn't bitching because that was one of the things that I don't like. When I was a child growing up, all my mom did was bitch, 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 bitch. Everything. Nothing I did was good enough. I was dirty. I wasn't clean. I did this. I did that. It was bitching for 16 years of my life. That's all she did was bitch. And he's been doing that. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear all this bitching. And so he packed his rucksacks and he left. And I said, well, you can hang on to the keys for a little while because I don't have anybody to give a spare set of keys to. He had a spare set of keys. And then so basically, I was upset. I just posted on Facebook saying I'm single now. Mike's moved all his things out of my flat and first time I've been alone. That's all I posted. I didn't say anything bad. That's all I did was post, just say I'm single now. And then my ex-boyfriend, he got on Facebook and he started posting saying he was single and it's not what he wanted and he was disrespected. So basically, now I'm disrespecting him. And I just replied and said, well, it wasn't possible. You wanted to get one person out of our life and it wasn't possible to do that. And then he posted something else. And I said, look, I'm done with this. And then he took a picture. I took a picture of my friend after I cut his hair, because I cut his hair with the clippers. And he's saying this is the man that broke up my relationship. He had something to do with it too. He accused me of having an affair. He sent my friend mean messages. He forced me to give up my friendship. He had something to do with it too. He just didn't want my seat friend in our life. That's what he wanted. He wanted my seat friend completely gone. And he was so used to getting what he wanted from me, so used to me appeasing him, so used to me capitulating, that he just couldn't cope with the fact that I couldn't give up my seat friend. It hurt me. It hurt me what was going on. It hurt me. And so, yeah, my ex-boyfriend did what he said he was going to do. He said that he was going to tell everybody that my seat friend was the reason for the breakup. So he did what he said he was going to do. And there were problems before my seat friend ever came along, which I discussed in previous videos about how his friends and family treated me really badly. I mean, his family treats me appallingly. And this was the first time that I didn't capitulate to him. I didn't give him what he wanted. I didn't concede. I didn't appease him. And he didn't like it. And then so I got a message from somebody else saying, oh, you shouldn't have your personal conversations on Facebook. You're making yourself vulnerable. And I just replied, I said, well, I already am vulnerable. I'm vulnerable. The UK government is telling me that I am mentally ill. The UK government is forcing me to take drugs. I'm vulnerable. And I just said, well, I'm already vulnerable, and she said some other stuff. I don't know. So I texted my now ex-boyfriend and I said, I think it's best if you return my keys since you're posting mean things on Facebook about me. Which is, I think it's reasonable. If he's going to post mean things about Facebook on me, then he needs to return the keys. And then I've got to find somebody to keep my keys. And so I went to bed. I was really tired. I took a bath, washed my hair. I have to do everything myself now. My boyfriend used to help me. He's not around to help me anymore. So I have to do everything myself now. And then so I spent all night by myself and had the whole bed to myself, and woke up at 6:30 this morning, and I thought, well, I want to make this video. And so I got up, checked my blood, brushed my teeth, put my clothes on. I'm having a tea, but I haven't had any breakfast. And I thought, well, I'll make this video, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen with my now ex-boyfriend. And I don't know what's going to happen with my seat friend, because I just, I just want some peace, really. I just want some peace. And that was the thing about my seat friend. He's so demanding, so high. He needs so much attention. I can't give him all the attention that he needs. And I could have. If I wanted some company last night, I could have had it. But I just wanted to be by myself. And that's what I've done. So, yeah, I guess today, my now ex-boyfriend is going to spend the day. He's already posted on Facebook saying that my seat friend is responsible for the breakup. So I guess he's going to phone everybody and say my seat friend is responsible for the breakup. And so what am I going to do with my life? I'm not sure that I want to go to the Depression Expression coffee morning anymore. I might just spend Friday mornings cleaning my apartment. My boyfriend helped me clean it, so that's not going to happen anymore. So I might spend Friday mornings cleaning my apartment, but I don't want to go to Depression Expression and tell them that we broke up. I think I'll continue to go to the Google Meets. I'll continue to go to the Google Meets, but I don't know if I want to go to Depression Expression anymore. I told my boyfriend that he could go. I said, I won't go, and he could go. He said, oh no, he's not going to go for at least a month or two. He's not going to go for a couple of months. And I don't know if I want to go. We met my seat friend at Depression Expression, and I said to my boyfriend, I said, if you want to be mad at somebody, be mad. Sorry about that. I said to my ex-boyfriend, I said, if you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at the woman that brought him to Depression Expression. Because she brought him to Depression Expression, and then she just pretty much washed her hands of him. So I don't know if I want to go to Depression Expression anymore. I'll go to the Google Meets, but I don't know if I want to go to the coffee mornings. And then my seat friend, I told him that my ex-boyfriend is telling everybody that he's the reason for the breakup. And my seat friend said that he might not go to the coffee morning anymore either. Well, that's up to him. And then my ex-boyfriend, he said he's not going to go for a couple of months, but he's more than welcome to go. I just won't attend. And then he said he's going to get counseling at the church. So, because that's another thing he loves. He loves counseling. He loves to tell people his problems, and he loves counseling. And so he's going to get counseling at the church. So he's going to go tell everybody at the church that my seat friend is responsible for the breakup. And then I don't know if I'm going to go to Oasis or not. I don't know. I've got a friend that goes sometimes. I might ring her up and say, well, I'm not sure I want to go back there. All these places that we went to, they were full of down and outs, like Oasis is full of down and outs and stuff like that. So I'm not really sure I want to go back there. I've been going with my boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, and I'm not sure I want to go back there. So I think I'll just tell my ex-boyfriend that he can go to Oasis and I won't go. I'll just stay home and do things at home. And church is going to be funny because he's gone and told everybody that my seat friend is the reason for the breakup. And he's the reason for the breakup because I couldn't give him up as a friend. It hurt me deeply to give him up as a friend. So that's what my boyfriend's telling everybody. So he's gonna go tell everybody. He said he was going to, so he's gonna do it. And I'm surprised he hasn't posted on the church website. He may have, I don't know. And so I'm gonna go to work this morning, and I just have to get accustomed to life as a single person. I've got some baked potatoes. So I can put the baked potatoes in the air fryer, and I can have some cheese on top of it or something like that. But I don't feel up to cooking a meal, and I have to get used to doing all my shopping on my own. I have to get used to doing all my cleaning on my own. And I've got a PIP assessment on Monday. That's going to be fun. Going to be really good and depressed for that. So I'm going to close this video. I think I've talked a lot. I told you my thoughts and my feelings after the breakup. So just watch this space.